He was nicknamed Kid when he started at Hawthorn 30 years ago, and at 47, he's still Peter Pan. He is a Hawthorn immortal, a member of the Australian Football Hall of Fame, and a highly visible media figure. Love him or loathe him, he's Dermott Brereton and proud of it. Welcome, Dermott. Has someone bopped you on the way to the interview?
That sounds plausible, but no. I doing a bit of renovating at home, and I rolled over on the couch while having a sleep, and a spider bit me on the nose. It doesn't sound too realistic. That's what happened.
Tell me the origin of the nickname.
It happened very early on. I was I think I might have been 16. Definitely no more than that. Played in a reserve. I had a reserve game. I hadn't played a game. And there was a bloke, Smithy, at half time. Yeah. That was his name, Smith. Ian Smith, I think it was. And Desmott was the coach. And at half time he said, "Smithy, get a kick or we're going to put on." And he pointed at me and went, "That kid."
You always look happy to me. Are you? I mean, is it a facade or is that you?
I wake up every morning without any precedence and I smile. Just happy to be there. Get up, get into life, have a bit of fun and spread it around a bit.
But there was a period in your life when you must have been certainly unhappy and I would suspect confused. I mean, your father, Dermott, and your brother, Paul, both took their own lives at young ages. What sort of impact did that have on you?
Had a massive impact on me. My father, incredibly so. I know a lot of people say, why don't you coach? Why are you always late? And the likes. And the reality was, I was so self-centred as a footballer. While I was playing, everything was football to me. My dad was getting sicker and sicker mentally.
In a psychological sense, yeah.
Yeah, and I couldn't see it happening because I was just so into my own world. So when I retired, you have responsibilities in various areas of life, but I won't say shirked, but I've evaded serious responsibility since then.
Does that guilt sit on your shoulders still?
A little bit in that regard, yeah. I don't want to take things too serious. It's pretty hard to wake up and see that, hey, I could have done something about that. That hurts a bit.
Let's talk about your football. It was a great career, there's no doubt about that by any definition. But it prompts a few questions in review, I reckon. I mean, your best year was 1985. You won the best and fairest.
I had better years than that.
Well, you won the best and fairest. You won the goal kicking. You kicked 8 goals in the losing grand final, and you were all Australian. And you were 21 years of age.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember you having a better year than that.
Yeah, I reckon I did. 87, I reckon I played better. 88.
Did you?
89.
All of those years.
Yeah.
Yabby Jeans was your coach. He's an exalted figure in your mind, isn't he? In your life.
Yeah.
Tell us why. He was more than a coach to you, wasn't he?
Yeah. He, the best way I can explain it is, I've tried to do it before. I was 14 and somebody came knocked on my door. We were going to train at Hawthorn. Dad said, no, not until he's 15. Might have put on a pound over that year. By 15, later in that year, I'm invited to play with the seniors. You're training Monday night, Tuesday night, a light run Wednesday and Thursday night. My dad working at nights. I'm listening to Alan Jeans more than I heard my own father. And John Lauritz, the CEO at the time, I'm hearing his views on life and the likes. And then everyone, when you look back at your life and you say, right, what was the period that really mattered? That's what you took in. Everyone that you listened to at that stage, they tend to, in your reflection, mean the most. So then from like 17, when I'm on the verge of seniors, through to when Yabby leaves, when I'm about 28, I heard him every day.
Did you cry when he died?
Yeah, I still struggle not to cry when I think about him.
So it was a special bond, you and Yabby.
Yeah, he's good. He's a good man.
Yeah. When your own father died in 1993, you were 28?
27 at that stage.
27. What was your relationship like with him?
I had a great relationship with him until the last few weeks.
What happened then?
He'd run into some trouble with the law. He had a dark past that had resurfaced.
Can you talk about that?
Family members probably don't really want me to, but I said something to him that, yeah, he never recovered from.
Really? How does that sit with you now?
And they were the last words I said to him.
Is that right? So you hadn't spoken to him for, what, a month before he died?
Yeah, about that.
And you don't want to share that exchange with your father?
No.
Okay. And your brother was living with you, wasn't he?
Yeah, he came and lived with me for a few weeks, and I'd seen the writing on reflection, knowing what had happened with my dad. Then to see what was happening with my brother, recognise some signs. I thought he loved life too much to do it, though. But obviously it got the better of him.
You reported 17 times during your career and suspended 9 times for a total of 39 games. Were you irresponsible, or was that just the Irish temper taking over?
Temper. Very combative.
Acceptable levels of temper or not?
No, sometimes no. Very combative, very protective over other players. You're talking, well, you've got to be honest. I felt I had a great sense of justice. And if I saw something go
You were the
unfair,
judge, though, of that justice.
Unfortunately, yes, and that's what society can't afford, people to take the judgment into their own hands. But on the footy field, I thought I did, and I probably shouldn't have. If I saw something which I thought was unfair, unjust, I'd act on it.
Did you
very seldom were I the true instigator. Very seldom.
Okay. We'll get back to a couple of those incidents. While we're talking about your heritage and that Irish temper, was the story right that you sent money back to the IRA during your playing days?
I'm glad you've asked that. I didn't think you'd ask it, but I'm glad you've asked that, because no, I didn't. I am a prolific donator of money, and we're not talking thousands, we're talking 100 here, 100 there, to people who I believe, once again, that sense of justice. I've sent it to the retired English soldiers who served in Northern Ireland and come out of it disfigured, and they have their charity. I've sent money to them. What I did send to was a national Irish group who look after underprivileged national people. Now, somewhere along the line, that gets blurred into being a direct amount of money into Sinn Féin and then, therefore, into the hands of those.
So there was nothing from you directly to the IRA?
Never.
No, okay.
Never has, never will be.
Let's go to a couple of those on-field incidents we talked about before. One that we're particularly interested in, because you're now with Fox Footy, one of your colleagues, Danny Frawley. The clash with him, I got a feeling that ended a friendship when you and Frawley.
I liked Spud, and I like him again now. So it created some animosity for a few years. I was very good friends with Trevor Barker. He was having a testimonial night that night. Spud was an exceptionally good player. I knew that I had my game, I had a kick, a second gear. I was pretty pacey for my size. And Spud knew that too. And the amount of time Spud grabbed me. You do it, you don't do it, whatever. Back in those days, it was kind of an unwritten law that you could do it. And then it was kind of an unwritten law back in those days with 2 umpires only in vogue, that if you did it too much, you were warned.
You're talking about hanging on here. Yeah.
And I warned Spud, and he called my bluff. And I thought, well, I've got to do something. I backhanded him. He whacked me back. I've lurched forward. And then, much to my regret, I lurched back, and the back of my arm lifted him under the chin. And unfortunately, I just knew there was no coming back from him from that.
Dermott, you said earlier that you were never the instigator. I want to remind you about an incident involving a bloke who'd been a teammate of yours, Raiden Tallis. Mm-hmm. What did Raiden Tallis do to you that day to make you stand on his head? Nothing.
There was some of the worst sledging by blokes who'd never played a senior game for Hawthorn in the 2 or 3 minutes before, in a lonely end of the ground when the ball was up the other end.
Was Tallis one of those? Was he getting into you?
don't think Raiden was. He just happened to be holding the ball some minute later.
Now, I don't know if you've ever admitted that you actually did willfully, intentionally, and perhaps maliciously stand on his head. Did you?
I'll give it to you. I willfully wanted to stand on him. I willfully wanted to hurt him. I was that outraged by some of the comments that the young...
Because you were
guys...
wearing the Swans colours at the time, were you not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having said that, I slam tackled him as well. He's one tough unit. I really slam tackled him, put him down, put my hand on him. The ball went that way, and I looked up and thought, I'm going to go for the ball, and it'll be a disguise, and I'm just going to step on anything.
It just strikes me that you were worried, you had your insecurities yourself then about where
Absolutely.
you were at.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
But you also understand that I'd come from a club which I felt I'd given... You get paid. You're a paid employee as a footballer. But there are times when, as a paid employee, you go above the call. And I'd felt I'd done that at Hawthorn. I understand why they made the decision they did back in that era, but I felt pretty unjustly dealt with.
Yes.
And it rankled with me.
So it flowed over from when Hawthorn came to you and offered you what was a pitiful amount of money.
Yeah.
Obviously that resentment stayed with you for a long time.
Yeah, it did. I remember I was on good money, and then...
So let's put some figures to the good money and the bad money.
Okay. It was $175,000, which was top dollar in the league in those days.
That was your money in your last year at Hawthorn, was it?
Second last year.
Yeah.
Second last year at Hawthorn, yeah. And then Peter Hudson was brought onto the board, and he was brought on as someone who had to help cut costs and the likes. So I went from 175 to getting an offer of 7,000 base, 1,500 a game, and bonuses that could take me up to 175. And those bonuses came at 18-game milestone, 20-game milestone, and 22-game milestone. And after saying to Peter and John Hook, who was in on the meeting, I said, "What, have you blokes been promoted, or am I less important?" Which didn't go down well with them. I said, "This is great that you're giving me the opportunity to earn the same money, but you do know that next year there's only 20 games in the season. It's going to be pretty tough to get the 22 in a 20-game season." So I came back to them and said, "Look, a base of 30,000 to have me at work for 48 weeks a year, 4 weeks off, 1,500 a game, and give me bonuses on 8, 12 and 16. And if I play 16 games, that's a pretty good year." And they said no, they stuck to the 7,000 base.
You understood, though, that they had money problems, but obviously you clearly felt insulted by the offer.
Yeah.
Dermott, it's half-time in open mic. Let's take a break and regroup. Staying at Hawthorn, talking about one of your teammates, a famous teammate, and a bloke you were seen to be so close to during your playing career, Jason Dunstall. Are you matey with Jason?
I love having the banter with him. He's a ripping bloke. He's a good bloke. I like him. I like his company. But he's an ordinary bloke too. He's just this weird sense of humour where he likes to be... He like that orange Muppet thing that pops up out of the bin. What's that? You just snorted.
I've got a cold.
What is that? The Grouch in Sesame Street?
Grouch will do. That fits.
That's what he's like. But he's hilarious. He's a very... When people ask me to describe him, he's highly, highly intelligent. He doesn't... He goes through life thinking, I've got enough friends at the moment. Unless they're going to add something exceptional, I have no need to meet anyone else. So he gives nobody any time.
Are you one of those friends?
If he needed me for anything, he wanted me to do anything, yeah, I would.
Did you once say of Jason, he's the most self-centred, unselfish footballer you've ever seen?
Yes, I did. Did you hear that? Yeah. He is. He's an amazing contradiction. He's as a player, He was completely team-orientated. As a human, he's completely self-centric.
He's going to like this, isn't he? Yeah.
But he's hilarious.
Where does he sit amongst the great players? I know you reverence for Lee Matthews. Where does Dunstall sit?
He's right up there. People ask me, all right, pick the full forwards. How good are they? Blah, blah, blah. If you wanted to play in a team and look back over your head at the goal square and just applaud, you'd have Gary Ablett. If you wanted a bloke one-off, if everyone's playing at their best, if you wanted a bloke one-off to win one game, they're all playing at their best, I might add, you go for Plugger Lockett. You want a bloke to play for your season, to actually get to where you want to go and professionally do the job, it's Dunstall.
Dermott, let's go back to the footy. Your first game, we all remember that you kicked 5 goals in your first game in a final at the MCG against North. I think there's another enduring memory for you from that game, isn't there?
I've seen Andy Demetrio, CEO of the league, run this way, and I knew that Lee was following me, and I heard a crunch. And the best analogy I can use is if you got a Hessian sack and you fill it up with brisket bones, a little bit of flesh still on them and that, and you hit it with a baseball bat, the dull thud and the sound, that's what it sounded like. And I have played my first game. I've just turned 18 and I thought to myself, this is a different world up here. If you don't do something, you're going to get killed. If you allow them to do it, they are going to kill you, and it's going to happen quick.
So you adopted Lee Matthews as your mentor from that moment, did you?
It's funny enough, until I played AFL, I had never been reported or sent off.
Dermott, please.
Scouts on it.
It's a different game these days, there's no doubt about that. Far less physical. Do you like it?
I do. You know what? And I would love to have played in this era too. I would miss the success of the dominance of that, but I'd love the no hands chop. I'd love the freedom to lead up the ground a little bit more. Be fantastic. I'd get less frustrated.
Who do you like watching, Dermott?
In terms of players?
Yeah.
I'm a Jonathan Brown fan.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. But the bloke, I've never ever seen it before. There's only one bloke I've ever seen who was the hardest bloke to tackle, and it's just a slight correlation here. I've never watched a player and giggled and laughed because of how good they are and what they do. I do it with Cyril Rioli.
Yeah.
And when I was playing as a young man in Hawthorn, the hardest man ever to lay a glove on and tackle in league football in my 30 years was Maurice Rioli.
Yeah, I can understand that.
You couldn't tackle him.
Now, we can't do an interview without talking about 1989 and Mark Yates.
Yep.
Yates, owed you one, didn't he?
Yeah, he sure did.
Earlier that season, was there something that you might have done to him?
Yep, absolutely.
He was to get to that?
Absolutely.
What'd you do to him?
Can I tell a story?
Yeah, sure.
As I say, I felt aggrieved. I'd been, I thought, infringed against. And a lot of the time, because of my noticeable appearance and that, I felt that the umpires gave me a fairly hard time. I felt a bit victimised.
Probably because you whacked every other bloke in the opposition.
Well, it eventually ended up being a whack, but I felt like they'd turn a blind eye to stuff which they wouldn't if I had have committed that act. The ball went out of bounds after I felt one of these acts had a blind eye turned, or I screamed at the umpire, blah, 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 that's a free kick, yeah, get on with it. I looked up, Paul Deere, the substitute ruckman, had locked arms with Yatesy on a boundary line throw in. The ball went up over the head. I charged in, went to go for the ball, but not really go for the ball, just put a knee into Yatesy and just drove one into him. He went down pretty hard, and as he was getting chaired off and carted off, I had a few words to him, just for good measure. Yeah, not great stuff.
And he said, I think I'll see you in September and might have something back for you.
At that stage, he could only get out a few. He's a ripping bloke, Yates.
I know you're friends now.
He's a great guy. And then when he got me in that in the grand final, in the opening quarter, I remember just strolling past him at quarter time and looking at him, and we're even. people say, why don't you dislike him? We're even. And I went past him and I thought, because he got chaired off, and I thought, I should have gone off, but I looked at him and I winked and I went, I'm still here, Yatesy.
The line in the sand game. There's been some confusion about your role in that. You were on the Hawthorn board at the time. You allegedly had an exchange with Richie Vandenberg at half-time. Is that true, and what did you say to him?
Who told you that?
Well, that's sort of almost public perception now, isn't it?
All right, well, that's true.
It is true. Oh, good. A journo got one right. What did you say to him?
Actually, it's not going to look that good for me.
This is Hawthorn and Essendon at the MCG, right? And Essendon...
Who got reported that day? He and Campbell got the most.
Yeah, but there was history,
it
wasn't
was alleged.
Essendon was seen to intimidate the Hawthorn at that
Essendon
time.
had belted up Hawthorn for years. Hawthorn had not got within a bull's roar of them, and they were a better team. But they emotionally belted up Hawthorn as well. They scared them into submission before the first bounce. I'm a big believer that actions speak volumes of what you want to do, what you want to achieve. You make an action, you have to live up to that action. I think that day Hawthorn broke the mould. Ripping bloke too, from Essendon. What's his name? Mark Johnson.
Yep.
He slam tackled. Young kid only then. He's a premiership player. Had a big ruckman. Gee, I'm mentally blocked on it. Hawthorn ruckman.
Robbie Campbell.
Yeah. Whistle went because the ball was pinned to him. So play went dead. Inexperienced young Robbie then went limp, relaxed, and Jono slam tackled him.
Oh, he's in trouble, Campbell.
I went down at half time. And they were geeing themselves up. They were well on the way to a frenzy. And when I went into the toilet, which is a not long open trough for those in the MCG rooms, and it just happened at the one time Richie and Campbell Brown were there, and my words without the adjectives in it was, don't let Mark Thompson walk off.
Mark Johnson.
Don't let Mark Johnson walk off the ground.
It is on everywhere in here, boys. Spot fires all over the place.
Oh, McFall! And Vandenberg letting lefts and rights go with the
You
feet.
can't do that.
And here comes Welsh to remonstrate with Vandenberg.
This is the 1980s revisited.
Well, I tell you what, at least Hawthorn is showing a bit of spirit here. This is unbelievable. We haven't seen these sort of scenes for a long time in AFL football.
The average losing margin for Hawthorn, the previous 12 encounters, was 10 goals plus. The next time they played Essendon won by 3 points.
Yeah.
Hawthorn won the next 10.
87 grand final. You were a massive big game player. I mean, you're noted for that, and it's true. You played on Carlton played David Rhys-Jones on you at centre-half back, and he won the Norm Smith medal. Now, I know you're not into alibis, but did he just outpoint you, or did you have broken ribs that day?
No, that's bad info for you.
It's not right?
I had a crack in my ankle.
Did you?
Had a crack running through my ankle, which got operated a couple of weeks later. And I had a back brace on. I mean, I couldn't touch my knees. Dunstall had gone down. His ankle had blown up to the size of a pumpkin. So we had no key forward.
Okay.
Paul Deere played, and he was in about his third or fourth game, so I had to play. He outpointed. His strength was my weakness. My strength was I thought I had him covered. Not his weakness, but mine was my marking mobility. I lost my mobility. I lost my coordination because of various elements. And when the ball hit the deck, he was like a cat, Reece. He could just gather it in. I couldn't chase him.
Last one, Dermott. You're coaching your son Devlin's under-13 footy team. Surely they're not going to play like Dermott Brereton played his footy. I mean, what are the priorities for you with your boys' footy team?
To see their skills improve.
Jeremy, loved watching you play. Didn't always agree with everything you did, but you're a fantastic player for Hawthorn and for the game. And I'm enjoying what you're doing now. Welcome to Fox Footy and look forward to this year.
Michael, thank you.
Thanks, Derm.
This has been a Fox Footy production.